रूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः. Respected Swami Brahmastanaji Maharaj, dignitaries on the dais, honorable guests sitting here, dear friends. Today is the third day of this lecture series and the last day. For last 2 days we have been dwelling on the topic Swami Vivekananda's vision of future India, how Swami Vivekananda wanted a strong India, not only a strong India, but India which was more glorious, which will become more glorious, so much glorious that all its past glory will fade into insignificance. And he wanted that Indian spirituality should conquer the world. And why Indian spirituality? Why he wanted the nectar of Vedanta to be spread all over the world for the good of many, for the happiness of many, for the good of all, for the happiness of all over the world. All these things we have dealt on. We have seen through yesterday all the problems that the nation is facing today. And almost all the thinking persons have come to one conclusion. The crisis today in our nation is the crisis of character. There is no other crisis. We have got best scientists, best professionals, resources, human resources, raw materials, everything. Great cultural and spiritual heritage, strength, everything. National Geographic brought out a special issue on the eve of Golden Jubilee of Independence of India and describe India as the boldest and the greatest experiment on democracy. The country having the largest number of republic devoted to democracy. Because as you know, America is less in population, China is more in population, but it is not democratic. So it is the boldest experiment on democracy. And then it describes how India is becoming stronger. The fourth largest army in the world, highest number of professionals and scientists anywhere in the world. The country having highest number of professionals and scientists, 35 lakh. And Navy, one of the best. Space technology, one of the fourth. Economic development, very fast. According to World Economic Forum, which has been again validated by London School of Economics survey, within 5 years there will be 3 superpowers on the economic front: America, China and India. With all that, still, even with all that GNP increasing, economic development increasing, I know I will have to go for drought relief to the villages. Because, as we discussed yesterday, that development will be at the top level. It will not penetrate down to the grassroots level. It will be eaten away, the money will be eaten away, siphoned away in between. Why? Only one problem: crisis of character. From top to bottom, everywhere is corruption. And that's why the panacea of all our evils now is character building. And character building, 2 hours back I was talking to the students of physics department in university. I said, if you want a strong building, you must have a strong foundation. So if you want to build a strong nation, Swami Vivekananda said, if you want to rebuild the nation, it is not possible till we have built the character of citizens. The rebuilding of the nation depends upon the character building of the citizens. And when it comes to character building, any building, if you want to have a strong building, you must have a strong foundation. A multi-story building must have a very deep foundation. Similarly, if you want to have strong character, you must have a strong foundation. Then I asked them the question, just tell me, we must have a strong foundation for character building also. Now this foundation should be laid before the building is constructed or after the building is constructed. Then they all answered, if it should be before. Then I asked them, then why do you say we will not meditate now, we will not pray now, we will not read the books of Swami Vivekananda now, we will not go for character building now? All these when we will do? After retirement. It's of no use after retirement. It's of some use, but main thing is foundation has to be made strong. That can be done in young age. That's why we are going to schools and colleges, talking to the students, because it is at this age that the foundation can become strong and strong character can come. And that is why Swami Vivekananda said, finish of all evil is what we want, education. What type of education? Man-making education, character-building education. This is the need of the hour from Indian point of view. All over the globe, UNESCO is very much concerned, and that's why they brought out the instruction. All over the countries, all the countries they have instructed, give more importance to values now. This is the last chance, otherwise it will be wiped out. So much of violence. Now in American schools, they are going to have metal detectors, because anytime any boy will come with the gun of his father and go on shooting the teacher and the students, just for fun. And some for patriotism. This is happening. Already it has happened in Columbia School and many more schools. Not only Columbia School. Violence is increasing. Now 74% of the Americans want to possess gun. It is a gun culture that has come all over the world. Gun culture. 54% of the youth of Japan, America and Sweden, as I told you, are not meeting national death, they are dying out of suicide. Many youths are now going to psychiatrists regularly. And Dr. Lane, the famous psychologist, says in England, in UK, 9 out of 10 students have got the possibility of going to a psychiatrist after his university education is over. There is a probability. So many going to psychiatrists. Mental problem, tension, violence, drug addiction, lot of drug addiction and suicide. All these problems have come because UNESCO says we did not give importance to character building, man-making education. Now they are coming to the point what Swami Vivekananda said 100 years back. What education we want is man-making education, character building education. And that is why today need of the hour all over the world is character building education. In India, much more so. Not only for saving the youth, also for saving the country. Another thing, we are now discussing about globalization. Globalization comes to stay on economic front. Where is the global culture? Where is the global civilization? Now, the type of education that we want to give to our children depends upon what type of man we wanted, man or women we want for the new civilization. And that depends upon what type of civilization and culture we want. Depends on that, depends the whole type of education. What type of culture we want. Swami Vivekananda has given beautiful solution. He has given too much in depth. He has narrated what type of cultures we had in the past. He was a very keen student of history. What type of cultures we had in the past. What type of cultures we have. And what are the various advantages and disadvantages? And then he concludes, each and every type of culture has got its own advantages and disadvantages. There was a time when Brahmanic culture was at the topmost. In Brahmanic culture, you get sattva guna. People are sattvic, but at the same time, there is stagnation. Then came Kshatriya culture. Kshatriya culture very dynamic, but brutal. Violence. On advantages not. Then came the Vaishya culture. Economic prosperity. But culture goes down. And dishonesty starts. Values go down. And then comes the Shudra culture. There is equality. Equal distribution of materials and money, but then the culture further goes down and there is violence and all that comes up. You look at any communist country. In fact, one country has already gone to pieces. These are all advantages, disadvantages. Swami Vivekananda says, why not have a culture in which we would have the advantages of all the cultures minus their disadvantages? If we could have a culture which will have Sattva guna like that of Brahmanic culture minus its disadvantages, which will be dynamic like Kshatriya culture minus its disadvantages, and which will be having economic prosperity of a Vaishya culture minus disadvantages, and which will have equal distribution of materials and goods and money minus their disadvantages. What a fine culture it would be. Similarly, it tells about civilizations. We had many civilizations in the world, but all the civilizations are gone to pieces. Only one survives, and that is Indian civilization. Roman civilization gone. Greek civilization gone. Each civilization had its own advantages and disadvantages. Roman civilization had tremendous efficiency and dynamism, administrative capability, but it died because of its brutality. Roman culture excelled in art and culture, but then it died because of its sensuality. We had Indian culture which is still surviving, but though surviving, it has got so many ills, it has got problems of poverty and all that, because it has got spirituality, but disadvantage that it is got impracticability. So he says, the ideal civilization would be if we have the administrative efficiency of Roman culture minus its brutality, combined with Greece culture, the art and cultural heritage of Greece culture minus its sensuality, combined with the spiritual culture of India minus its impracticality, and we will have an ideal civilization. If we want to have such type of culture, such type of civilization, we would have to have an ideal man as its center. We will have to produce such men, and such men and women will not be produced in factories, they will be produced in education institutions. And that is why he said, what we want is man-making education, character-building education. And beautiful definition that he gave of education is, what is education? Education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. Education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. When you teach, when you educate a man or person or woman, what you are trying to do? You are only bringing out that perfection within. It is not giving something, it is bringing out. In fact, it has come, education as word has come from the Latin word educare, and that means to bring out. Just imagine, Swami Vivekananda gave the definition which is in consonance with the Latin definition. Education means bring out. Perfection is already there, it has to be brought out. The teacher acts only as a catalytic agent. And so Swami Vivekananda says, education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. But when we talk about man-making education, does it mean that women have to become man? No. What is meant by man-making education? Just as some women are doing, trying to dress like men and thinking that they have become men. They cannot become men, and they did not become. Women are much greater. They are great by their own right. Why should you become man? There is no need. So when Swamiji is talking about man-making education, he doesn't want that women should become men. What he is wanting is to stress at manliness. And some women have got more manliness than men. That manliness is more important. Strength, physical strength, mental strength, intellectual strength, moral strength and spiritual strength. That is manliness. So Swami Vivekananda says, what we want is man-making religion. What we want is man-making education. What we want is man-making theories all around. And here is the test of truth. Anything that makes you weak, reject it. Reject it as poison. There can be no truth in it. Truth is strengthening, truth is encouraging, truth is power-making. That is the definition of manliness. Strong. So what he means, what Swami Vivekananda means, man-making education means the education which makes a personality of a man or a woman a strong personality. In all respects, body, mind, intellect, heart, and also moral and spiritual development. So, by man-making education, what we mean is personality development. But what type of personality development? Not the type of courses that are going on personality development. What do they teach in those personality development courses? what type of hairstyles you should keep, how to dress, how to have matching dress, and at the most some manners, hello, how are you, fine, thank you, and how to eat, at the most sometimes public speaking classes, over. Personality development. That means how you appear to be, what you are not important. That is not really personality development. Stephen Covey's book, you might have read, very famous book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. In the introduction he has said, he went through the literature of personality development for last 200 years and he found last 50 years there has been a drift in personality development literature. First 150 years literature was different, last 50 years different. Last 50 years literature on personal development has dwelt more on what you appear to be rather than what you are. And so their external appearance is more important. But first 150 years, what personality development meant was character ethics, character development. What you are. If you are giving a nice speech and impressing others by your powerful speech, but then in that speech you are telling, yes, truth shall triumph, but you go on speaking untruth. It will not do. Why? Swami Vivekananda says beautifully, you can deceive a few people all the time. You can deceive all the people for some time, but you cannot deceive all the people all the time. Then you will be found out. Today or tomorrow, you cannot deceive. And that is why what you are is more important than what you appear to be. Of course, appearance also has got its own importance, but ultimately what counts is what you are. How is your character? So personality development and character development are synonymous. And what type of character we want, what type of personality we want, what Swami Vivekananda's concept of man-making education, what is the concept of Swami Vivekananda's concept of personality development, what he wanted was development of the total personality. Total personality. You know, in the management jargon now they are talking about TQM, total quality management, zero defect. Again, another term has been added now, TQP, total quality personnel. And I want to add one more term, that is TPD. What is TPD? For the first time I am using here in Nagpur University. I think afterwards this phrase may catch up. Total personality development. We want total quality management in quality, in management. Here what we want is total personality development. TPD. What do you mean by total personality development? Personality according to Vedanta consists of 5 sheets, Panch Kosh. Annamay Kosh, Pranamay Kosh, Manomay Kosh, Vijnanmay Kosh, Anandmay Kosh. And behind all these koshas is that Atman. So, the personality consists of, first of all, physical, then there is mind, then there is intellect, then there is heart, and then there is a spirit. So what Vedanta says, what Swami Vivekananda says, we must have development of physical personality, and so he says, first thing what is wanted, what we want are muscles of iron and nerves of steel. Muscles of iron and nerves of steel. First of all, our young man should become strong physically. He went to the extent of saying, you will be near to heaven through football rather than by the study of Gita. Because when you play football and when your muscles are strong, you will be able to understand the genius and the strength of Shri Krishna better. That does not mean that you have to give up the reading of Gita. Some young men came to me and said, Swamiji, I have left reading Gita. Why? Swamiji says, you will be near to heaven through football rather than by the study of Gita. So I left Gita and I started football. My dear boy, you go through the whole sentence. What Swamiji said was, you will be nearer to heaven through football rather than by the study of Gita. But next sentence is, because when you become strong, you will be able to understand the message of Sri Krishna better. So you must understand Gita also. But you will be able to understand Gita better after playing football, after becoming strong. With a weak body, you will not be able to understand. So what he meant was strong body. And strong mind in a strong body. A strong mind will come when strong body will be there. But only strong body will not do. Strong physique is necessary. Outside physique must be beautiful, must be strong. But that is not enough for a personality development. What is wanted is mental development. Mind should be strengthened. Willpower is to be strengthened. Willpower is to be strengthened. Concentration is to be there. The mind should become strong. Then intellectual strength. Intellectually you must be bright. Otherwise you will not be able to succeed. Then heart should be expanded. And then moral and spiritual development. Physical development, mental development, intellectual development, and lastly moral and spiritual development. If all this development takes place in a personality, then it will be called total personality development. How to bring this about? So when I go to schools and colleges, I give them formula, punch sheet as I call it. 5 formulas for bringing about this total personality development. Number 1, self-confidence. If you go through the message of Swami Vivekananda, everywhere you find again and again Swami Vivekananda says, faith, 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 have faith in yourself, self-confidence. You must have confidence in yourself. He goes to the extent of saying, the old religion says he is in a phase who does not believe in God. The new religion says he is in a phase who does not believe in himself. And he goes to the extent of saying, if you have faith in 330 millions of gods and goddesses of your country, and also have faith in other gods and goddesses that foreigners have introduced into you, but if you don't have faith in yourself, you are atheist. First have faith in yourself. Faith, faith, faith. The history of the world is the history of a few men and women who had faith in themselves. This faith calls out the divinity within. First have faith in yourself. How to get the faith? How to get faith? Modern psychologists say, develop PMA, avoid NMA. Positive mental attitude, avoid negative mental attitude. Swami Vivekananda says, beautifully, he says, infinite power within each and every one of us. Just bring out that power. Remember, whether you are a man or woman, you are a child or old man, or whether you are rich or poor, higher caste or behind each and every one of us is that supreme soul containing infinite power. Try to rouse that power. It is dormant at present. It can be. And you don't have to import that power. That is already there in each and every one of us. Only thing is that it is to be manifested. It is already there in a potential form. So education is the manifestation of perfection already there in man. Bring this out. Second, Swami Vivekananda gives the emphasis on self-reliance. Depend on yourself. Don't go to an astrologer. Please tell me whether I is passing the examination or not. Foolish. You are the creator of your own destiny. That is the law of karma says. As you sow, so you reap. Whatever, there is something called destiny, but who created the destiny? Your own karma. So what happens? What follows? If my present destiny has been determined by my past karmas, it follows my future destiny will be created by my present karmas. And in that case, in that sense, you are the creator of your own destiny. So don't try to know the destiny, try to change destiny by efforts. So he gives more emphasis on self-effort and self-reliance. For our unemployment problem also, he says, why do you go for asking for job? Get self-employed. Depend on yourself. We don't want education which will make you beggars seeking jobs. No, we don't want job seekers. We want that you shall be self-employed and give employment to others. This is exactly what we are doing. In Ranchi, we have that tribal development project. We give them training, but you need not go for job afterwards. No certificate. After the training, go to the villages and start implementing whatever training you have received in beekeeping, carpentry, pump repairs, agronomy, horticulture, animal husbandry. We will give you some help, not as help, credit, only credit, loan. You have to pay back. And they have become self-employed. Now they are employing others. Self-employment, self-reliance, self-help. And if you don't do that, you are creating more problems rather than solving them. Concrete example, when I was in Ranchi, looking after the tribal development project, in the area in which we were working about 30 kilometers from Ranchi, there was a small village, Shingari, if I remember, Shingari. That was adopted by World Bank. And the lead bank was Bank of India, and then other things came, and they started with a project. For the total integrated development project, IRDP, under IRDP and NRDP, they made some scheme for the total development of the village. And they spent about 80 lakhs of rupees for development of a small village. After 4 years, what was the result? Only one person got developed. That was the Bania. He had a 3-story building. And instead of one liquor shop, he had 5 liquor shops. All the others became poorer than they were. This is what happens. This is development. That is why Swami Vivekananda said, the wealth of the whole World Bank, the wealth of the whole world at that time he said, the wealth of the whole world will not be enough to develop one single village if people are not taught to help themselves. We should help people to help themselves. We also give help to people, but not as charity. We go there, this is loan, you have to pay back. First, give them education. First thing is give them education. Give them training, and then give them inputs. And first of all, make them realize their own dignity. No, you should not go as a beggar. You should stand on your own feet. This is the training we have given. And so in 54 villages, our youth studies, youth clubs are working, going for those self-employment programs. That is why Swami Vivekananda said self-reliance. So first is self-confidence, second is self-reliance, third is self-control. If you want to have success in anything, you must have control over mind. Emerson said, the secret of success in trade, in war, in every management of human affairs is the concentration of mind. And Swami Vivekananda said, concentration is the key to success. Not only that, he said, if I had to do my education over again, I will not learn facts as they are given. I will not undergo this process of education. If I had to do my education over again, and if I had any choice in the matter, I will not go through this education. First, I will learn how to concentrate my mind, how to control my mind, and then I can learn the facts at my own will. He had so much of power of concentration, and yet he thought that was not enough. If I had to do my education over again, and if I had any say in the matter, I would not go to the present education system. First I will learn how to concentrate my mind, how to control my mind, and then I can learn the facts at my own will. This is very necessary. What a tremendous power of concentration Swami Vivekananda had. That was the secret of his success. Once he was sitting in Berumat in his room, and then he was reading Encyclopedia Britannica, and a young man came, young disciple, Sarat Chakravarti. He saw Swamiji reading Encyclopedia Britannica, so many big volumes. He had never seen such big volumes. And so many of them. And he said, Swamiji, it will take whole lifetime to finish these books. When will you finish? Swamiji said, I have already completed 10 volumes and now I am reading the 11th volume. Within a few days I have completed 10 volumes. What do you mean? Within a few days you have completed 10 volumes. How can I believe? The Swamiji said, you don't believe. Okay, from first 10 volumes, you ask any question that you want. And the disciples started asking many questions. Swamiji gave verbatim replies of all the questions, sometimes quoting the very language of the book. Then the disciple was very much astonished. Swamiji, this is miracle. Swamiji, this is not miracle. That is the power of concentration of mind. If you have a concentration of mind, you can read faster. Once Swamiji was in Khetri, Maharaj of Khetri, Ajit Singh, he became his disciple, so he was living with him. Then he saw Swamiji is taking rest, and he had a heap of books. He is taking book, turning the pages, putting the book. Taking the book, turning the pages, putting the book. Then he asked Swamiji, Swamiji, when will you start reading the books? You are just only turning the pages. He said, I finished these books. What do you mean? Before my eyes I am saying you are turning the pages, and you are saying I have read the books. I have read the book. You ask any question from these books I have read. Maharaj asked many questions. Swamiji, you reply. What is this? It is miracle. Swamiji, is not miracle. You see, Raja, when a small child starts reading, how does he read? He doesn't read cat, mat, no. He says C, A, T, every single alphabet he first tries with. But when concentration develops, he starts reading cat, rat, mat. Then further increases, he starts reading the sentences. Similarly, when this power of concentration is further increased, you read page by page, not by sentence. Photographic memory Swamiji had. And that's why he could read. That is the power of concentration. Concentration is to come. Control of mind is to come. Willpower has to come. We don't have willpower. We decide something, from tomorrow we'll do it. And then tomorrow comes. Oh, again we say, not from tomorrow we'll do it. We will get up at 5 a.m. Put the alarm also. Many students, they complain to me, we are not able to get up. We put the alarm, but what do we do? Put the alarm at 5 o'clock, alarm rings, and then you put the button and again go to that. No willpower. Small thing also we cannot implement. Getting up in the morning, also after winter we will see. Tomorrow never comes. Those who have got willpower, they said, today, now and here I will do it. That is why Swami Vivekananda says, in order to succeed, you must have tremendous perseverance, tremendous willpower. I conquer the world, the man of willpower says. At my will, the mountain will crumble up into dust. I will drink the ocean, says the persevering soul. At my will, the mountains will crumble into dust. Have that sort of energy, that sort of will. Work hard and you will reach the goal. That is the message of Swami. Make your mind strong. That will come through self-control. There are a lot of methods for self-control. We can't go into the details. I will just give the brief outline. One of the methods is meditation. To get concentration, we must have good food. Not only by mouth, by eyes. That is, whatever we intake, our daily life is also important. Plus, our routine life also helps. Plus, meditation and prayer also helps in getting concentration of mind, in getting control over mind. But meditation is not easy. It has to be accompanied by certain procedure. According to Patanjali Yoga Sutra, meditation is only the 7th step. Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, and then Samadhi. Many people want instant Samadhi. And it is available also. They want instant coffee, instant success, instant Samadhi is $35 available in the shops. So many shops have opened. As I told you, the most flourishing business is the mind business, the religious business of religion. So many frauds have come. And they have opened shops, $35 instant Samadhi. Many are getting. It is not possible. Samadhi has become a very cheap word. Meditation has become a very cheap word. Samadhi is 8th step. Meditation is 7th step. Dhyan is 7th step. Before that, first step is Yam. What is Yama? Yama means Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha, Ahimsa. Then Niyama, Shauch, Santosh, Tap, Swadhyaya, Isha Pranidhana. Yama and Niyam, that is very difficult. The first Yama is Satya. To practice truth. That is not possible in today's world. It is not possible. It is impractical. So first thing is very difficult to practice. 8th step is very easy. Samadhi I want easy. That I want in $35. How is it possible? If you are not able to practice the first step, how will you get 8th step? That is why. But then we have to go inch by inch, step by step. We must have this purity of mind is very important. If we want to have control over mind, we must have purity of mind. And purity of mind will come by practice of these virtues called Satya, truthfulness, Brahmacharya, continence, Aparigraha, non-covetedness, Ahimsa, non-violence, and Asteya, that is not coveting others' material and not possessing others is Aparigraha. So these are the 5 yamas and niyama: Shauch, purity in body and mind; Santosh, contentment; Tap, austerity; Swadhyaya, daily reading; and Isha Pranidhana, the spirit of surrender, egolessness, less of self-centeredness. These are the virtues that will gradually purify our mind and make our mind controlled. So I have given you just briefly: self-control, self-confidence, self-reliance, self-control. With all these three, you can become Ravana, you can become Kumbhakarna, you can become Hitler, you can become Mussolini. They had all these 3 virtues. You will become Rakshasa, demon. Yesterday we talked about demon. And so, 4th thing is self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice does not mean that you have to give up the world, you have to become a monk or an unknown. Sacrifice of your little ego, sacrifice of your selfishness. Not perfect unselfishness, very good. If you can't get, then enlighten self-interest, enlighten selfishness. Yes, you have selfishness, doesn't matter. Have enlightened selfishness. At least don't try to do bad to others. Don't try to do bad to others. If you can't serve others, doesn't matter. So that enlightens self-interest, enlightens selfishness, and more of unselfishness. That is why Swami Vivekananda says, unselfishness is the test of religion. And Swami Vivekananda says, renunciation, service are the twin ideals of India. Intensify these two channels and the rest will take care of itself. Service, renunciation and service. These two are possible only if we have spirit of self-sacrifice. And Swamiji gave a new gradient call. Here is a beautiful method by which you yourself will get happiness, at the same time giving happiness to others. That is how you yourself will get peace of mind, and you will give peace of mind to others. How? By serving others. In Raj Yoga, Swami Vivekananda says, at long last, not now, at long last you will understand the best way to become happy is to see that others are happy. The best way to get peace of mind is to pray for peace of mind of others. Try to do. Swami Vivekananda gives a concrete method. Every day morning, early morning, get up, sit down for some time and pray for the welfare of all. Irrespective of caste, faith, color, religion. Let all be happy. Let all be cheerful. Let all be peaceful. Start doing this prayer. Meditate on that. For some time, after a few months, you will realize you are getting peace of mind. What a beautiful, small but very practical example of getting peace of mind. Second, peace of mind will come by this prayer for others. Also it will come by serving others. When Swami Vivekananda came back from America, he was in Calcutta. A young boy, a young man approached Swamiji. Swamiji, I am not having peace of mind. I have gone to various gurus. I have practiced various sadhanas, but I am not getting peace of mind. Then Swamiji asked smilingly, what are the type of sadhanas you undergone? Oh, so many sadhanas, so many gurus I have changed. So what is your latest guru telling you? What is your latest sadhana? Latest guru has told me, and so I do. What is my latest sadhana is, I shut all the doors and windows of my house. I sit down in my room. I close my eyes and I try to vacate all the thoughts from my mind. Make my mind blank. This I have been practicing for a long time, but I am not getting peace of mind. Then Swamiji said, my dear child, if you want peace of mind, first open these doors and windows. Open your eyes. See who is in the neighborhood suffering. See who is sick. Try to serve that sick person. See who is hungry. Try to feed that hungry mouth. See who is suffering. Try to remove that suffering of that person. Try to serve others unselfishly. Immediately you will get peace of mind. Immediately you will get peace of mind. Instantly. Peace of mind. Peace of mind can be obtained by serving others. Self-sacrifice means some sacrifice. Try to serve others for your own good and for the good of others. For your own good. Atmana mokshartham. Jagadita. Double benefit. You yourself will get benefit. You yourself become happy. You yourself will get peace of mind. And others also will get peace of mind. Others also will be benefited. This is a two-way process it will work. And fifth, finally, self-knowledge. Self-knowledge, knowledge of the self. Because what is a man? What is a man? We are saying man-making education. What is the definition of man? Immediately the reply will come from a student. Man is a social animal. Yes, because he has been taught there. He has been taught in the university, in the schools, colleges. Man is a social animal. This has been taught there. Immediately they give the reply. Man is a social animal. That is Western concept. But Aristotle says, no. Man is a political animal, but after all he is an animal. But Benjamin Franklin says, no. Man is a tool-making animal, after all he is an animal. Alvin Toffler says, Freud says, no, man is a biological animal, after all he is an animal. Alvin Toffler says, no, man is an economic animal, after all he is an animal. This is Western concept. What is the Indian concept of man? Shunvantu vishve amritasya putra aye dhamani divyani tastuhu vedahametam purusham mahantam aditya varnam tamasa parastat tameva viditva mrityumeti nanya pantha viditayanaya. This is how Shvedashvatara Upanishad says. This is how Swami Vivekananda addressed the gathering of Chicago Parliament religions. Shunvantu vishve amritasya putra. Ye are the children of immortal bliss. And Swami Vivekananda said, ye the children of immortal bliss, let me tell you, you are the children of immortal bliss. Let me also address to you that ye are the children of immortal bliss. Ye it is not sinners, it is a sin to call a man so. It is the standing liable on human nature. Come up, O lions, and shake off the delusion that you are sheep. Your souls immortal, spirits free, blessed and eternal. You are not matter, you are not bodies. Matter is the servant, not ye the servant of matter. Children of immortal bliss. What a sweet name. Let me tell you, Swami Vivekananda told this to the Chicago Parliament religions. That's why all stood up and gave that ovation. The first time they got what a peace of mind. Everybody telling them, you are a sinner, you are a sinner. There is no hope for you. No, you are not a sinner. Hindu refuses to call you a sinner. Nobody is a sinner. Yes, you might have committed mistakes. Mistakes are committed. To err is human. And the greatest mistake is to say that you are a sinner. No, never say. You are not a sinner. Then what are you? You are the children of immortal bliss. Shrunuvantu vesha amritasya putra. What is a man? Man is child of immortality. Children of immortal bliss. That is all man. This is our prerogative. This is our birthright. This is our true nature. But then, why are we feeling weak? Why are we feeling weak? Swami Vivekananda gives the example, the story. The lioness is going along the forest, and a flock of sheep goes, and the lioness jumps over, and a small cub falls down. The cub dies, this lioness dies, and the cub starts growing along with the sheep, and starts bleating like sheep, starts eating grass like sheep, and in behavior it becomes almost like a lion. It grows up, but still it eats grass and behaves like a sheep. Another lion comes and sees. What a wonderful thing. So many sheep are going and they are bleating. Along with that, small lion is also going. It is also bleating and eating grass. So when this small lion is alone, this big lion comes. You fool, what are you doing? You are a lion and still you are bleating like a sheep and you are eating grass. The small lion says, no. I am sheep, I am not lion. Big lion says, you fool, you are a lion and still you are saying you are a sheep and still you are feeling yourself weak and miserable. No, you are lion, you are lion. Small lion says, no, I am not lion, I am sheep. Then the big lion gets annoyed, catches hold of this small lion by the throat, goes to a pond, look at the reflection. Look at your face, look at my face. Your face resembles mine or that of sheep. Just look at your face. And then the small lion says, yes, my face doesn't resemble that of sheep. It is like lion. Yes, now we understood. You are lion. Give up bleating. Give up eating grass. Come, you are the king of the forest. And you become the king of the forest. That is the story Swami Vivekananda says. This is exactly what has happened to us. When Swami Vivekananda was giving the lessons of this divinity of the soul, telling them you are immortal, you are the children of immortal bliss. Then an American lady says, Swami, you are trying to hypnotize us. Then Swamiji said, Madam, I am not trying to hypnotize you, I am trying to de-hypnotize you. You have already been hypnotized. Time and again you have been thinking, I am weak, and you have become like sheep. You are never sheep. You are children of immortal bliss. I have come here to de-hypnotize you, not hypnotize you. Ye are the children of immortal bliss. If there is any falsehood in the world, it is this, that you are weak, that you are man. You are not man, you are not women, you are not ordinary mortals, you are not weak, you are all immortal souls. This is the truth, and this is the final truth. First truth, second truth, and the final truth, that you are all divine. This is what Swami Vivekananda declared to the Americans. That is why they got so much strength. This is the strengthening message of Swami Vivekananda. Each and every one of us has got that center of consciousness, having that infinite potential, infinite energy, but we've forgotten about it. We have become hypnotized. While time and again we are thinking, we are bodies, we are nobodies, we are nobodies, we are bodies, we are nobodies. And we are miserable, we are weak creatures, we have committed this, we have committed this. And day and night we are thinking about weakness, and we have become bundle of weakness. Swami Vivekananda says, I have come here to hypnotize you. Never think you are weak. No, you are strong. Infinite strength is within each and every one of you. That Atman is there. Atman can never become contaminated. It can never get contaminated. It is always eternally blissful. Ever blissful. Atman is there. Eternally blissful. Satchit Anand. Eternal, immortal, eternally blissful, eternally knowledge, eternal Chit Sarup. That is your Atman. That is your nature. That is the strength of Swami Vivekananda. Now, today, this is the message that we need of self-realization. Self-realization. Self-knowledge. Once we get self-knowledge, then only we have manifested our true nature. This is what Swami Vivekananda means by total personality development. Because unless until you manifest our true nature, we have not achieved the truth. And I am very glad to inform you, many psychologists were not agreeing. So far, psychologists were telling what is the goal of personality development, what is the goal of character building, what is the goal of man making? Self-actualization. What is self-actualization? Self-actualization means making use of all faculties, maximum use of all the faculties, development of all the faculties of a personality, of a person. What are those faculties? Physical, mental, intellectual, all these faculties have to be developed. That is called, and then there are certain inner faculties of mind, creative faculties in the subconscious mind. If they are to be brought out, that is really self-actualization. That means actualizing the real potential lying within a person. Modern psychologists agree to this point, but they were not agreeing to the second point of Swami Vivekananda, that is self-realization, self-transcendence. But Abraham Maslow, in his book The Farther Reaches of Human Nature, has acknowledged that the goal of mankind of personality development is not only self-actualization, also self-transcendence. We have to transcend ourselves. If we are divine, if we are not only animal, we have to get back our true nature, and that getting back true nature means what we have to do is only remove the covering. Remove the covering. The Atman is always there, shining within all of us. Only there is a covering has come. This covering has to be removed. How this covering can be removed? First of all, they were not agreeing. But now, Abraham Maslow says, not only self-actualization, but self-transcendence. But
says, man has a unique capacity of transcending himself and perceiving himself in the act of perception. Other species do not have this unique capacity. Man has a unique capacity of transcending himself and perceiving himself in the act of perception. As Niels Bohr says, the great physicist, what does he say? Men are actors and spectators in this great drama of life simultaneously. Other animals, they can become actors, but they cannot become spectators simultaneously. Man can become actor and spectator simultaneously. That is, man can go beyond himself and transcend his limitation and become one with the infinite. This is a unique prerogative of human beings. Modern psychologists, modern scientists of late now are realizing not only self-actualization but self-transcendence is the goal of life. This year, a new book has been published. You might have heard about this book. SQ, Spiritual Intelligence, the Ultimate Intelligence, by Dana Zohar. And in that book, Dana Zohar says, SQ, Spiritual Intelligence, is the source of both IQ and EQ. What is IQ? You know. IQ is Intelligence Quotient. 1991, Daniel Goleman made a research and brought out a book called EQ, Emotional Intelligence. And he said, success of a person does not depend only on IQ. It depends upon another factor that is called EQ, Emotional Intelligence, Emotional Quotient. What is that? Gives example. There is an executive who has got very high IQ, technically very sound knowledge, but then he cannot control his anger. So he throws paperweights at his subordinates. So he doesn't get the team spirit, and so he doesn't get success. With all his IQ, because of his low EQ, he is not able to control his emotions like anger, he is not having compassion or empathy. That is why he fails in his life, doesn't succeed. That is why EQ, emotional intelligence, is very important. And now, Dana Zohar She is a professor in Oxford University, having background of science but a psychologist by profession, has proved neurologically, psychologically, biologically and scientifically that there is high intelligence called SQ, spiritual intelligence. What is SQ? IQ will tell you how to play the game. EQ will tell you under changed circumstances how you can change the strategy. That EQ will tell you. And SQ will tell you whether to play the game or not. You as well may not play the game. The choice is with you. The choice is with you. SQ is the power of discrimination by which you can find out what is good and what is bad for me. Vivek Buddhi, discrimination. This is exactly what Teilhard de Chardin had said. Teilhard de Chardin, the great scientist who was a Christian father, his books were not allowed to be published because it went against the Christian theology, but they were published posthumously, and one of the famous books that he has written is The Phenomena of Man. In that book, he says, he puts up a question, what is the difference between a man and an animal? What is the difference between a man and an animal? Then somebody said, intelligence. He says, not necessarily. Why? Use the example. There is a cat in your house. One day you find that the cat has stolen milk from your kitchen. So what do? Next day you hide milk in some other corner of your house. And next day you find out that the cat has stolen milk from there also. Who is more intelligent? So cat has also got intelligence, sometimes more intelligence. Then what is the difference between a man and an animal? Then he says beautifully, while a man knows what he knows, an animal does not know what it knows. Cat knows how to steal the milk, but cat does not know whether I should have the knowledge of stealing the milk or not, whether I should steal the milk or not, whether it is good for me to steal the milk or not. A man knows how to steal the milk. Man also knows whether to steal the milk is good or bad, and whether I should have this knowledge or not. This type of knowledge should I have or not? Not only that, knowledge of oneself. What knowledge I should have, what knowledge I should not have, and who am I? Knowledge of oneself, that is only the prerogative of human beings. In that respect, man is a unique human being. Human being is unique. So, what our old scriptures used to say, there are 84 lakh of species. 84 lakh yoni hai. 84 lakh species. Out of that, only one species called human being has got the right to have self-realization, self-knowledge. No other species has got that power of knowing oneself. Now, modern science says that there are 1 crore 24 lakh species. Difference is not much. 84 lakh, 1 crore 24 lakh according to modern science. Please correct me if there are scientists present here. I don't know the latest figure, I am talking about 4 years back. So, 1 crore 24 lakh species according to modern science, out of which only human species has got this SQ. This is what is being told by now Dana Zohar. They have scientifically proved that all the other species have got IQ. Even computers have got IQ. They have got very good IQ. But EQ is not available in all these species. Only few species have got EQ. For example, dogs, cows, cats, elephants. There was some news item in the newspaper, you might have read. A she-elephant got dehydration problem. So the doctor started pouring saline water into the mouth of the she-elephant. Now she-elephant had a child, 1-year-old elephant. That child got so much sympathy towards his mother that he also started pouring that saline water into the mouth of his mother. So even elephants have got EQ. So some of these species have got EQ. But SQ is available only with the human beings. modern science is now proving what our ancestors told, that only human being has got that birthright, that only right of knowing oneself, self-knowledge. Swami Vivekananda says, what is religion? Religion is the manifestation of divinity already in man. What is education? Education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. When you have got perfection, perfection is already there. It only needs to be brought. The divinity is already there. Only the covering is there. Covering has to be removed. And you get infinite potential, you get infinite power. How to remove the covering? This is the question. So Swami Vivekananda used beautifully. I had already given that sentence. Again I tell you, this is the gist of Vedanta, gist of Swami Vivekananda's message given in Raj Yoga. Each soul is potentially divine. Each soul is potentially divine. The goal of human life is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature external and internal. Do this either by work, worship, psychic control, or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. This is the whole of religion. Dogmas, rituals, worships, books are but secondary details. This is the whole of religion. Dogmas, rituals, worship, temples are but secondary. They are not bad, but they are secondary. What is primary concern is, have you manifested your divinity? Have you manifested your divine potential? How to manifest that divine potential? How to know that you have manifested divinity? How to know that you have become religious? Is there any test? There is barometer to measure how much pressure. There is thermometer to measure how much temperature. Is there any thermometer by which you can know how much religion one has got? That is the thermometer given by Swami Vivekananda. Unselfishness is the test of religion. Unselfishness is the test of religion. If you want to test, here is the test. And Swami Vivekananda says in Karma Yoga, what a beautiful thing. No other monk, no other sage, no other prophet has given such wordings. Only a Vivekananda can do it. What he says, even if you have not gone to any church, any mosque or any temple throughout your life, if you have not read any single religious book throughout your life, if you have not practiced any austerity throughout your life, but if the simple power of good action has brought you to such a point where you feel miseries of others and for removing other suffering, you are ready to give up your life, sacrifice your life for the sake of others, you are the most religious person in the world. Just imagine. Only a Vivekananda religious person can say, even if you don't go to not a single time you have gone to a church or a mosque or a temple, but you are the most religious person, because unselfishness is the test of religion. And if you have gone to a temple or a church or a mosque thousands of times, and you put very big marks on the forehead and wearing Hare Ram Hare Krishna Chandar, as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, beware of false religious persons. Be a devotee, but don't be a fool. Don't get befooled by so-called outside show. He used to tell a story. There was a goldsmith. There was a shop of goldsmith, and there were 4 salesmen. All the 4 salesmen were wearing big chadar. Hare Ram Hare Krishna was written there. And all of them had very big tilak on the forehead. And all of them were repeating the name of Lord. One was telling, Keshav, 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 Keshav. Another was telling, Gopal, 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 Gopal. Third was chanting, Hari, Hari, Hari. Fourth was chanting, Hara, Hara, Hara. And all the people who say, wow, my God, so religious people, they are all chanting the name of the Lord. And they used to give their jewels there in the shop. Sri Ramakrishna said, beware. Don't get deluded by outside show. Don't be a fool. Be a devotee, but don't be a fool. Be practical in approach. Do you know their code language? The first person is chanting Keshav, Keshav. He is asking, Keshav, Keshav, how are they? What type are they? The second is code language telling, Gopal, Gopal. They are just like cows. Just like cows. They are fools. You can befool them. Then third is asking, Hari, Hari, Hari. If they are fools, should I take away their ornaments? forces, hara, 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 they are all fools, they will not mind, they will not be able to know. Hara, hara, go on looting them. So they are looting. This looting business is going on in the name of religion everywhere. Beware. Looting business in the name of religion. The most flourishing business is the religious business, the mind business. So many frauds are going on. Beware. Anyway, this is what Sri Ramakrishna says. Swami Vivekananda says, external rituals are not important. Main thing, manifesting the divinity. Have you become unselfish? Have you become pure? That is the test. And so that is why manifestation of the divinity will come. Then what is the test? Swami Vivekananda says, you will feel strong, mentally, physically, intellectually. If strength has come to you, then you are religious. Then your manifestation of the divinity has come, because truth is strengthening, truth is encouraging, truth is power making. And how to manifest this divinity? 4 yogas, Swami Vivekananda says. These 4 yogas, Raj Yoga, I told you, Ashtanga Yoga, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, meditation, Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion, Karma Yoga, the path of selfless service, and Jnana Yoga, the path of self-analysis. Swami Vivekananda says, in the modern age, the modern man has got a lot of problems. He is very busy and he is also weak to practice. Now, if all the 4 yogas can individually give rise, can give to manifestation of the divinity, why not combine all the 4 and get the manifestation kick up? Why become one? Why have singular approach? Then he says beautifully, why not maximum utilize of all the resources? This is modern management is telling, maximum utilization of all the resources, maximum utilization of all the faculties. So Swami Vivekananda says, we have got faculties, why not make all the use to utilize all the faculties? We have got hands, why not work with these hands for the good of others? That is Karma Yoga. But we have got mind, so why not meditate with that mind? But we have got heart which wants to love others and wants to receive love from others. Why not love God, who is the Supreme, by loving whom you will never have to repent? Many boys and girls come weeping, oh, I love that girl, and afterwards he has gone away with others. Why did you go to the well? Love that Supreme. You will never have to repent. God is always infinite love. Love Lord. That is Bhakti Yoga, as Mirabai loved. That is the path of love. And we have got heart. Why not love? And then we have got intellect. Why not have self-analysis? That is Jnana Yoga. So why not combine all the 4 yogas and maximize all the resources? And another thing is that all the 4 yogas have got many advantages, but they have got some disadvantages also. What is that? Love of religion, path of love is beautiful, but there is a danger of becoming too much sentimental and emotional. Path of self-inquiry, Jnana Yoga is very good, but there is a danger of becoming dry argumentative person. Karma Yoga is beautiful, but there is a danger of you becoming egoistic. Don't you know? I have done relief work for 25 lakhs of rupees, doubtfully. And also I did cyclone relief for 26 lakhs rupees. I have built such a hospital, and now I am constantly library. These types of things come when you do Karma Yoga. This is discipline of Karma Yoga. And also, in Raj Yoga, greatest danger, sometimes you do pranayama, and so many people come to me, oh Swamiji, what to do? Kundalini has suddenly gone up, now it is not coming down, but who told you to shoot it up? Without informing, in the introduction to Raj Yoga, Swamiji had clearly mentioned, don't practice pranayama without the personal guidance of a guru. But people, they want overnight results, they want instant samadhi, they want so many siddhis. So they go on doing pranayama and then ultimately come up. When it's too late, they have to be sent to the mental hospital. So, there is a danger. Raj Yoga is very nice, shortcut, but then we have to be very careful. But if you go with Yam and Niyama, minus pranayama is okay. It's gradually. So all the yogas have got advantages, but some disadvantages. When we combine all the 4 yogas, what happens? The disadvantages are gone. For example, if you are following Bhakti Yoga, if you only follow Bhakti Yoga, you will be too much sentimental. But if you combine Jnana Yoga, then you will not become fool. You will not become sentimental fool. You will apply your buddhi. And when Jnana Yoga, if you do, you become dry. But combine path of love, you will become not that much drive. Similarly, if you are karma yogi, only karma yogi, become egoistic. But if you mix up bhakti yogi, no, Lord, whatever I have done, I am just an instrument. Oh Lord, it's because of your grace that I could do so much of work. Then your ego is gone. So when we combine all the four yogas, put to God, Swami can say that everyone was so constituted that he could practice all the four yogas in his life. That would be an ideal man. We are talking about man making education. Man making education for what? For making that man not man but divine. Making that man infinite. Making that man self-transcendence, not only self-actualization. Self-actualization, all the faculties, also self-transcendence, making him infinite in nature, realizing his infinite nature. That is our ultimate aim. And for what? How to do that? Combination of all the four yogas. By daily practicing all the four yogas. That's why in Ramakrishna Math Mission, we monks and devotees, what do we do? Early morning we have got prayers in the temple, meditation, Raj Yoga and prayer and Bhakti Yoga. Again in the evening we have prayers and meditation. Again we practice Raj Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. And we have also some reading from the books, Jnana Yoga, morning and evening. A whole day we are practicing Seva Yoga, Karma Yoga, trying to do good to others through hospitals, libraries, dispensaries, mobile dispensaries, so many other types of rural and tribal development, all part of Karma Yoga. It's part of our sadhana, Atmano Mokshatam Jagaditaya. That is the type of man Swami Vivekananda wanted. When this will become, in Swami Vivekananda says, when all will start practicing these four yogas in their life, and start practicing practical Vedanta as I told yesterday, and in every life, a manager will become a better manager, a student will become a better student, a teacher will become a better teacher, a professor will become a better professor, a fisherman will become a better fisherman, and a new India will arise, new world will arise, new civilization will emerge, new culture will emerge. And Swami Vivekananda wrote to Diwan of Junagadh, Haridas Biharidas Desai. He was Diwan of Junagadh in Gujarat, and Swamiji had a lot of correspondence with him. In a beautiful letter in 1894, Swamiji wrote from America to Biharidas Desai. He says that what we want is a mixture of two types of man. There are certain good things in Western model of man. There are certain good things in Eastern model. Eastern model, spirituality, calmness, serenity. But in Western model, dynamism, efficiency. Why not combine both? Dynamism and efficiency and faculty of organization of the Western culture combined with the serene, the calmness of the Eastern culture. And out of this fusion will come out man who will be far superior to any man in the past, in the history, in the world. Such type of man will come. And Swamiji visualized that such type of man will come. When we will have this man-making education, such type of man-making education where physical, mental, intellectual strength will be given, training, what type of training? Where not only book learning, Swami Vivekananda says, education is not the amount of information that is put into your brain and runs right there, undigested, all your life. We must have life-building, man-making, character-making assimilation of ideas. If you have assimilated 5 ideas and made them your life and character, you have more education than any man who has got by heart a whole library. If education is identical with information, the libraries are the greatest sages in the world and encyclopedias are the rishis. If education is identical with information, the libraries are the greatest sages in the world and encyclopedias are the rishis. And in the modern language we can say, all the computers are rishis. They have got maximum information. What information you are containing, every information there in the computer. Just switch on, you get the information. Information is not education. Education is man-making, is character building. That is why it says, Swami Vivekananda says, we want that education by which character is formed, strength of mind is increased, the intellect is expanded, and by which one can stand on one's own feet. And then also education is a manifestation of perfection already in man. Perfection. And what is that perfection? Ultimate reality is Satchidananda. infinite knowledge, infinite bliss, infinite existence. That is our nature. Let us go back to that nature. Then only it will become a perfect, total personality development. TPD. That is Swami Vivekananda's concept of personality development, not the usual personality development. This is Swami Vivekananda's concept of man making education. Total personality development. Not only self-actualization, but also self-transcendence. And when we start giving this type of education, and who will give it? Who will give it? Government will bring out some new formula, and then it will remain in the almirahs, in the files, as has been happening with Kothari Commission report, Dr. Radhakrishnan Commission report. So many reports they are filed. Same thing with them. Let us not depend on it. But I'm very glad to tell you that the present government is making some sincere efforts. I don't know how far it will be implemented, but as I told you, already they have found out, they have prepared a curriculum. After consulting various persons on value education, they are giving importance to value education. And they are giving this curriculum, how far they will implement it. Very good. Total personality development approach, the more it comes in schools and colleges, very good. But it is not only schools and colleges. Education is not only given in schools and colleges. Only teachers are not responsible. It is a triangle. How character is formed. Swamiji went into details. How character is formed. Character is nothing but bundle of samskaras. Bundle of samskaras. Whatever we do, whatever we think, each and every act and each every thought has got two effects. One, law of karma, it goes outside, it brings the result. Secondly, it goes inside our subconscious mind and brings out and remains there in the form of samskara. To come up again, and that makes your tendency. Some persons by habitually are very good. Some persons habitually are bad. Why? Because of their samskaras. Their samskaras impel them to do good. These people's samskaras impel them to do bad under the same circumstances. This is part played by samskara. And how samskaras may have it, how samskaras are made? Samskaras are nothing but bundle of habits. Habits is nothing but your work. And so ultimately, samskara has got a very complicated affair. Past samskaras also play into part. Now how these samskaras are made up? How this character is formed? Swami Vivekananda says, character is formed by these samskaras. And these samskaras are made up of four types of forces. Number one, past birth samskaras. Past birth samskaras. We are born with certain tendencies from the very birth. Second, samskaras of the parents. Samskaras imparted by parents, particularly child in very young age. Third, samskaras imparted by teachers and lecturers in educational institutions. And fourth, samskaras imparted by outside environment. A person's personality or character is formed out of these four forces. We will have to take care of all the four forces. If we just make very good education in the school, but if that child comes back to his home, and then his daddy says, tell somebody I am not at home, over telephone. He says, no, I can't do it. I have been taught, never speak an untruth. What? Nonsense? Forget about all this nonsense. That is the school. In the home you have to follow me. So, of no use. Or reverse, if the parents are very truthful and he goes there, the teacher says, bring some tobacco for me. No. My father says, don't take tobacco. Don't bring tobacco for others. What? You are my student. Bring tobacco for me. What happens? Gone. So, it has to be an integrated approach. An environment. Sometimes the students who are good are not able to match with the outside environment. The environment is so bad. If they become truthful and honest, the peer pressure is there. What? You did not see that movie? You are living in 21st century or 18th century. You must see this TV. You must wear the shoes of 700 rupees. Otherwise you are backdated. Peer pressure. So environment also counts. All this will have to be corrected. It's not a small affair, not a easy affair. It's a long-term process. But we will have to strive at all the process. If we really want that the whole world should become happy and cheerful, if all the people in the world should be happy and cheerful, if we want that a global culture should come, an ideal global culture, an ideal civilization should come, where, as I told you, all the plus points of all the previous cultures minus their disadvantages, if that ideal civilization has to come, then we will have to have man-making education. If we want our nation to develop and otherwise become number one, we will have to have character-building education. If we want to have character-building education, man-making education, we will have to start at all the angles. We will request the government to give more priority to value education. Number two, in schools and colleges, we should give importance. In our houses, all the parents are sitting here. Most of you are parents. In our houses, we should have value education. And in the society, as much as possible, in offices, in our environment, let us try to make the environment better. It's a very, very tough task. Another thing, when we are talking about man-making education, when we are talking about an ideal man, who is an ideal man? A man who is physically strong, mentally strong, intellectually strong, spiritually strong, who has manifested his divinity, has reached his goal. Can there be such a man in the world? This is the modern age of education, and they want audiovisual aids. They want demonstration. Can you hear a model? Here is the model. Here is the model. That is the model of ideal man. See, look at his face. Physical strength, mental strength, what intellectual brilliance, and what spiritual development. All these are there. He is a model. Now, if we really want today, if we are really serious sitting here, if we are convinced that all have to become happy and we also want to become happy and we want both type of happiness, not only temporary happiness, permanent happiness, not only H but also P and P, peace of mind and prosperity. If we want PSP, all of us, in that case, we want to have that civilization. In that, if we want national development, if we want India to be number one, in that case, we must have character building and man-making education. Our role would be, what we can do sitting here is Pro-Vice Chancellor of Nagpur University sitting here. What I can do, what Brahmasthana Maharaj can do, I can do. We have started doing it. What we are doing it, we have come to know. Unless and until Swami Vivekananda's man-making education goes door to door, there is no panacea. There is no other out, no alternative. That's why what we have started lately, particularly from last 20, 15 years, on a massive scale we are going for spreading the literature of Vivekananda, because we know once a small booklet comes in the hand of a young man, young boy or girl, if a single sentence is being read, it will have its effect. Today or tomorrow, it has got to its effect. And so we are spreading like wildfire this literature of Vivekananda. And it is making some dent. Not to a great extent, but gradually, we are going to universities, to schools, colleges, holding personality development workshops, talking to the students. We don't give them free. After they have listened for 3 hours, then we give them free. No charges. But 3 hours they have to give. Then only we give them one small booklet free. Plus we take our bookshop there, purchase any number of books. Plus we give a big set of books to the library, so that those who can't afford to purchase books, we give them the list of the books to be done. For the time being, till in our schools and colleges, this syllabus has not come for man-making education. This valuation has not come. Till that time, what we can do in our houses, in our offices, in our environment, in our schools and colleges, we can distribute this literature of man-making education of Swami Vivekananda. And his life and his message is the best medium of spreading man-making education, particularly for the youth. Because Government of India started celebrating Swami Vivekananda's birthday, 12th January, as National Youth Day from 1985, International Youth Year. They were thinking which day should be celebrated as National Youth Day, and the government of India wrote because the ideas for which Swami Vivekananda lived and what he practiced and what he preached are very relevant for the youth of today. So since Swami Vivekananda is a constant inspiration for the youth, that is why Swami Vivekananda's birthday, 12th January every year, should be celebrated as National Youth Day. He is our national youth hero. And so, we must place before our youth books of Swami Vivekananda. By merely looking at a photograph of Swami Vivekananda, they will get charged up. Merely looking at, that's what I have seen. Keep the photograph. You are keeping the photograph of film heroes, remove them, keep photograph of this modern hero, the real hero, Swami Vivekananda. See what happens. You will get concentration, you will get confidence, you will get better results. Start doing it. Keep the photograph of Vivekananda on your table. Those students who are sitting here, I am telling them, small booklet, read small booklet, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, see what happens. Electric current will come. Many lives have been transformed. This is what we've been. There are many, many methods. I am telling you the method that we have started doing and which has started bearing fruit to a certain extent. What Nagpur University can do, Pro-Vice Chancellor is here. Start at least devoting one day per year, National Youth Day, Swami Vivekananda's birthday should be celebrated. It has been already given by the government of India, but many universities are not doing. It should be celebrated on a grand scale. And as we celebrate, what we do is, on that day, we have a big youth convention, and when we give prizes to the students, to which students who have participated in annual competition, organized competitions, speech competition, recitation competition, essay competition, all these competitions can be held. So on that pretext, the students are reading the books of Vivekananda, and those who have read and who have spoken beautifully, who have written beautifully, they should be felicitated naturally. And then the other students will get inspiration. We also should participate once a year. And then, if possible, to have personality development programs from time to time, every 3 months or every month. And every week, if we can have a youth study circle, where the students will sit down. Maybe, to start with, there will be few students, gradually they will increase. There will be one period on personality development. Every week, one period for personality development. It will be an optional period. I don't want any compulsion on this. But it will be an optional period. Some lecturers who are interested, some students who are interested, they will come, they will discuss about personality development, read out some books, some portion of the book, discuss about it, and they deliver and express what they gain by reading the books of Vivekananda during the week. So, yearly celebration, frequent programs on personality development, and weekly youth study circles. This can be done, and spreading the literature. Enriching the library of Nagpur University by such type of value education literature. This also can be done. And I will request Brahmastani Maharaj, if
he wants some books, Brahmastani Maharaj will give special discount. Yeah? Yes, he has agreed. Very good. Some books Swamiji will give free, some books I will give free. From Porbandar I will send to Nagpur University. If you are ready, something concrete has to be done. And Nagpur University can do this. You are all sitting here, what will you do? What will you do? I am giving you a small thing that we can start with. There are so many things we can start with. This is what is coming to my mind. This is a small book called Thoughts of Power. Very beautiful book. Name itself is Thoughts of Power. It is a collection of 8 complete works of Swami Vivekananda. Now 9th volume has come, but that time it was compiled from 8 volumes. Very powerful thoughts. The very first sentence I told you, that was from the Thoughts of Power. Ye the children of immortal bliss, holy and perfect being. Each is a sinner, it is a sin to call a man so. It is a steady liable of human nature. Come up, O lions, and shake up the delusion that you are sheep. Your soul is immortal, spirits free, blessed and eternal. Ye are not matter, ye are not bodies, maiden servant, not even servant matter. Such powerful thoughts are there. Electric shock you will get in the language of Romarola. Romarola says, when I read the books of Vivekananda, I feel thrilling effect, like an electric shock. Nobel Prize winner, Romarola. That effect you will get from Thoughts of Power. Very small booklet, hardly 3 rupees in English. I don't know the price in Marathi and Hindi, maybe same price, 3-4 rupees. Now, every person can purchase 10 thoughts of power. 30 rupees is nothing, 1% of your salary or your income. If not per month, at least do once a year or once in lifetime, 10 such books. First of all, read one book. If you feel that it has given you inspiration and if it changes your life, one single sentence put into practice will change your life. If you feel, no, this book has got a transforming effect. I have given you one example. You may come across any other book. It may be Vivekananda, it may be Gandhi, it may be Lokman Tilak, but I am giving you one example. This book I have seen has transformed many. So one book, if you like 10 copies you purchase and 10 persons you give, not as gift, unconditional gift, conditional gift. This is a gift to you with the condition. If you feel that this book is good, if you feel that book is inspiring, you must purchase 10 such books and give to 10 of your friends. Just imagine, you have purchased 10, you have given to 10, those purchased people again purchase 10, it comes to 100, 100 multiplied by again 10, 1000, multiplied by 10, 10,000, within 3 years, fission reaction, neutron, one neutron divided 3, and there will be tremendous reaction. There will be atomic bomb. Transformation will come. Fission reaction will take place. This is the least you can do. 30 rupees, 10 copies of thoughts of power. Let us do something concrete. If you can't do that, start reading the small book. If you can't do that, read one sentence every day. If not, read today one sentence. I am going down and down. Read one sentence. If not, whatever you have spoken for 3 days, if any single sentence appeals to you, try to implement that thing in your life. Even that is enough. That will be the implement. But let us depart today with something concrete. We have 3 lecture series clapping over. I am not happy. I am not happy with the clapping. If at all a single thought penetrates a single heart and brings out a single small action, that is my concrete benefit. So I pray to Swami Vivekananda, on whose day this lecture series was here. Once again, my hearty congratulations to Nagpur University for arranging this lecture series in the name of Vivekananda, who is the hero to today and tomorrow, and the new global culture, a new civilization, and he is the global hero. He is the global personality. An ideal global personality. In his name, organizing lecture, Dr. Roy, once again, for making all this possible, and for Swami Brahmanandaji Maharaj, to my pranam to him. It is he who made all this contact, and he told me you must come and all that. So because of him I came here, and all the authorities for giving me this chance to meet you all. I'm thankful to all of you for giving me this opportunity and giving me a very patient hearing and a very concentrated, with full concentration you will listen to me, for which I'm thankful to you. With prayers to Swami Vivekananda, let him bless the whole assembly here. Let him bless our good intentions here. Let him bless the resolutions we have made here. And let all of us become small, very small, humble centers of spreading his message and thus revolutionizing, becoming a humble instrument in bringing about this new civilization in the world. Thank you very much. My body is very bad today, I am having headache. That means you are not body. But then sometimes say, are you mind? Sometimes say, my mind is not good. Today I don't have good mood. That means you are not mind. Then are you intellect? No, you say my intellect is not working today. So you are not intellect. Then who are you? Thinking like this, who am I and what I am about? What is the goal of life? Why am I here? What is the purpose of my life? These are all, this is called self-inquiry. Any other question? This is just knowledge. This is called Jnana Yoga. Read Jnana Yoga. That is the path of self-inquiry. Who am I? What is my nature? I am Sat-Chit Anand. Infinite existence, infinite bliss, infinite bliss, and infinite knowledge. So that you will get in Jnana Yoga by Swami Vivekananda. Further, if you want to know about it. Okay? Any other question? Yeah. Very nice question. Very nice question. Thank you for pointing this out. I had forgotten this point. Swami Vivekananda said, I believe in Guru Grihavass system. Because in the olden times, the Shishya used to stay in close proximity with Gurus. And Gurus used to give them both Vidya, Paravidya, Aparavidya. Both type of knowledge is important. Knowledge which will give them knowledge about all the subjects of the heart, of the world, at the same time knowledge about the self. That is called Paravidya. Ve Vidya, Veditavit, Paracha, Aparacha. That is what Guru Upanishad says. Two types of Vidya are being imparted in this total man-making education process. And how to be imparted? In the olden times, somebody considers Guru Grihavasu was the system. And he says, how far it will be practicable, we have to see. But that is the ideal system. Why? Because values are not taught, values are taught. By remaining in close touch with the Guru, he will understand many things. Just by sermons, he will not understand. He will not be able to practice. But when he sees, he has a practical demonstration. He is telling the truth. Day and night he is living with him. And that penetrates him. These values are out. Any other question? Here.
Somebody wants to ask a question. Avidya, I'm asking you. We said there are so many Christians in this country. Why the corruption is flourishing? Why the corruption is flourishing? Why then that is the
very good question. Beautiful question. And in fact, most important question. Now tell me, if there is 1,000 liters of water, 1,000 liters of water, and if you put 5 drops of milk, will it become white? That is number one. Second, all these spiritual persons outwardly are spiritual. Are they really spiritual? That is to be again inquired. Number three. So many satsang are going on. There is so much of satsang is going on. And still it is not effective. But tell me how much of kusang is going on in everybody's how with that media box. How much of kusang? This satsang you are doing once in a year for 3 days. And that satsang all the 362 days, 24 hours. What will be the ultimate effect? So, only satsang will not do, kusang also has to be reduced. You are wanted with the media box has to be reduced. Even the effect of the media box is there. And they wipes out all the effect. So, there are so many other parameters, but I am jokingly telling. In the Katha also, when so many Kathas are, they go, thousands of people go for listening to Katha. Are they are physically present there. Are they mentally present? Tell me. Many of them are dozing. You will find many of them are dozing. And those who are not dozing are keeping both the ears open, one for in and one for out. So what effect it will have? That's why I tell a beautiful story. A lady had to go somewhere out of station. But she had taken a vow, every day I will go for Katha, listening to Katha, religious discourse. That was her vow. Very religious. Now, she said, I have to break my vow, what to do? So she called her daughter-in-law. You see, I have to go out of station for 3 days, and I don't want to break my vow. So, can you please go on my behalf to listen to this Katha? Okay, mommy, okay, sir. Surely, she was an educated girl, she educated from Nagpur University. So she said, yes, surely, mommy, I will. So, for 3 days she went for Katha. After 3 days, the mother-in-law returned. After returning 6 days, she finds the provision in the almirahs have got almost nil. The wheat flour is also reduced, and other things are also reduced. What is the matter? Within 3 days, how you have exhausted all these things? What happened? Oh, mommy, you told me to go for Katha, so I went to Katha. There, the preacher said that all beings are manifestations of the divine. They are all manifestations of the divine. They are all God. God coming in the form of Bhikshu. So, when Bhikshu had come, God had come in the form of Bhikshu. So I gave all the beggings, all these floors and other things I have given. Because the Kathas are told, worship God in man. Then the mother-in-law said, you fool, I have been going for Katha for last 15 years. And still I was not spoiled. And you got spoiled within years. Spoiling. So, keep both the ears open, one for in, for out. Don't get spoiled. Go to discourse. Oh, let them say, these are impractical people, speaking all types of things. No, we will not budget even an inch from our principles. Our principle is, eat, drink and marry, cut others' throats, do and keep 2 types of accounts and follow Gandhiji. Do you know, I was in Baroda railway station, talking to a man. One man said, I am a follower of Gandhiji. I said, what nonsense, I know you as a businessman, I knew. A remote, sometimes he used to come to our ashram, so I knew. I said, how come you become a follower of Gandhiji? Why? Gandhiji said, keep 2 types of accounts, keep everything in black and white. So I have kept one account of black and one of white. Gandhiji said, keep everything in black and white. He didn't know good English. So what he surmised is, Gandhiji has said, keep everything in black and white. Yes, keep two types of account. One for black and one for white. Black is big, white is small. If we become follower of Gandhiji in this way, so society will not improve. So main thing is, are we really trying to follow the instructions? Then it will have accepted. It will surely have accepted. Any other question? So, thank you. Yes. Huh? No, already time. Okay, last question. Last.
Can we relate Prarabdha with execution of the body?
Yes. Prarabdha is there. I don't deny Prarabdha. Swami Vivekananda does not deny Prarabdha. But he says, what is Prarabdha? Prarabdha, destiny is nothing but your own karmas of past. It has come in the form of present Prarabdha. And so the future Prarabdha, future destiny will be built by my present karma. For the time being, I am limited. I don't have complete control over my Purushartha. But future destiny depends upon my present karma. That way, you are the creator of your own destiny. Other questions if you have got, please write to me. I will reply from Thank you very much.